Exercise 3 for CAD 241 is a little bit more difficult. It's got a couple of extra complex pieces in it. So I'm going to go through this one just a little bit slower and make sure when you're watching this that you follow along with what I'm clicking and how I'm clicking and stuff like that to make your life a little bit easier when you go to do it. First thing I want to do is just go to File New and again name your part and say OK. Now this one here I also want to start from the front view and I'll click on Sketch. But this is where it gets complex. Whether you're doing English or metric, this grid size is 30 by 30. So when we're working with millimeters, it's not that big of a deal that it's 30 millimeters by 30 millimeters. But when we're working with English units, a 30 by 30 grid is fairly large. So what I want to do is I want to just zoom in really far. That way I don't have to deal with a whole lot of rescaling after the sketch is actually created. So now I can begin just by drawing my lines. And I'm going to draw this line straight up, and I'm going to come over here a little bit, down, back up, and over, and I'll actually allow that little L to appear in this case so that those lines are equal lengths. We'll come down here and close it off. Okay, now I have a closed loop already. That's not a concern, but before I start to place any dimensions, I really want to set up additional constraints. This right here is the constraints flyout. So when I click this, I then want to go ahead and select the equal. Make sure you don't grab parallel. What I'm looking for is equal. I know that this line segment and this line segment need to be equal. I'll say OK. This line segment and this line segment need to be equal. I'll say OK. And I had already made this line segment and this line segment equal when I created it when that little L showed up. So I can just say OK and get out of that. This dimension needs to become 0.5. The overall width of this is 4. And now I've got a situation here where it doesn't look right anymore. So I'm just going to left click and drag this part back up in here so it looks right again. My overall height, which I will use to place a dimension right here, overall height is going to be 3.5, and the distance from here to the bottom is 1.5. Now this gives me all the dimensions that I need to actually extrude this part, so I'm just going to go ahead and finish this sketch, and now I will extrude that profile a total distance of 2.5. Hit my green checkbox, and then I can begin to work here. I'm going to left click on this face and do a new sketch. Click sketch again, and I'm going to use the use command to use this line and this line. Now because I use these two lines, make sure you don't draw a rectangle here. Make sure you just use the line command to draw the additional two lines that you actually need in this situation. What will happen if you use the rectangle command is you'll end up with overlapping geometry and you won't get this nice shading that you're looking for. We'll change my dimension here to 1, change my dimension here to 0.5, and then I can finish my sketch and extrude. And again, I want to go through all, the other direction, removing material. Hit the green checkbox. I now have that groove cut. Now for the hole, there's several ways to do the hole, and I'm actually going to use the hole command for this. When I click on the hole command, it first wants me to pick a surface, and if you look up here, it's kind of telling you what to do next. It says select a surface, axis, or point to place hole. So I'll left click on that surface. Now I need to click on this placement button. If you notice it's highlighted in red, that means it's missing something. And this button right here is red, which means I need to pick my offset references. So I'll click here. Now I have to hold down Control and left click on the two lines that I want to place it by. I can now put in the dimensions. This one here is 1. This one that is slightly off screen right now, I'll just zoom out a little bit and put it in, is 1.5. The diameter is 1.5. And this is going to go through all. After I have all that information, I hit the green checkbox, and I now have the completed exercise 3. So again, this process was fairly simple. It started with the base extrusion, which was just drawing the V shape. That was followed by creating this cut here, and then lastly placing the hole. And that is exercise 3.